First of which we will talk about is the biggest one of them all, the Pentax 6.7 II. This has the 75 2.8 AL lens on it. I just finished shooting a roll of film coming back from a trip from NorCal, so I'll show you how to unload the film from the camera right now, since the roll of film has already been used. So usually you'll see here on the right hand dial where my index finger is pointing, stating that there is an end to the film, that it's done shooting all the 10 shots. With this particular camera, you only have 10 10 exposure frames per roll of 120 film, and that's not a lot, but you know, you really got to make it count. So anyway, so if you turn it on, you'll still see that there's end. If you turn it off, you'll still see that there's an end notification in the little LCD box right there. So anyways, to take the film out, you're gonna push this dial down, and what you want to do, sorry, let's close that really quickly. What you want to do is you want to keep rotating the film until basically you can't, until you feel that there's no more tension in the right spool, and that's when you know that the camera has completed its roll of the film. Otherwise, you'll see that if you don't do that, it's going to be basically like still hanging off of the left spool right there. So in order to take this off of the right spool, which indicates that it's been a completed roll of film, there's this little latch here. You're gonna hold your thumb here on the film spool with your left hand just to secure it, and you're going to lift up and just kind of push and put pressure on the corner there to lift up this corner here on the film. So it's going to be like this. Once you lift up this guy, it gives freedom to the roll to be pushed like so. And so what you always want to do with completely exposed and shot rolls of film is that it'll come off of the spool with two leaders. First is the backing of the film, and the other one is the adhesive strip that goes across the film. But what you need to do on every single roll of film that's been shot is you're going to fold the backing paper on itself, just like there's directions here. It says fold under before sealing. Go ahead and give the film a bit of a lick, like so. Now it's wet, and you're going to securely wrap it around. Every single time that we shoot, and we need to take into account which camera that the roll came from, and there's a big reason for this, but I won't get into the details right now, is that we need to mark which camera that it came from. So on the roll of film, you always will have a Sharpie on you. You're going to write 6, 7, indicating 6x7 for the camera being used. And let's see, because this is a Portra 400, we're shooting this normal, and we'll go into details about which films are shot differently or rated differently and pushed or pulled or whatever the matter may be. Just write norm. So I know that it's shot with the 6.7 and we're processing it normal. Typically I rate the Portra 400 either at 320 or 200, and we'll process normally like it's a 400 speed film. Put that to the side, and now we have a completed roll of film. Okay. Kind of working backwards now. We just unsealed a fresh roll of film. This is Tri-X 400, just as a sample roll here. You'll notice that there's a sealing on the roll of film which you need to break, but before that, let's put it inside the camera first. So once that this needs to be reloaded, we notice that the spool, the spool that does not have any film is going to be on the left hand side. We'll take that, move it over to the right hand side, which will be our take-up spool. And so you notice on some spools, some Ilford have a cross, Kodaks have just a single slit here, so you have to line that up with the corresponding slit in the camera, and then we'll slide that in, and you'll have to fiddle with it because this camera is probably the toughest to load, and it's as fidgety as can be. It's not as easy as say the Contax 645 or even the Hasselblad inserts. I love that Hasselblad. It's so easy to change. But the Pentax 6.7 is a little bit more fidgety when it comes to speed of loading. So you'll notice that when you are able to line everything up, that this little latch will be able to be pushed in and then turned and pushed down into its little socket there. You'll notice that right at that point, everything is supposed to be the way that it's supposed to be. If you can't push that little latch in, it means that you haven't lined the spool up yet. Okay, so here we'll line up that little slit with this one right here. If I'm lucky, it'll be quick. Sometimes it's not. You gotta pull it back out and realign it. This is the camera that I'll probably need you to work yourself with quickest. So this will take the most practice. You'll see that I lined that up and I was able to push this little latch in and turn it. And that's telling me that I lined it up correctly. If I'm not able to turn it or push it in all the way, it means that it's not lined up. So once it's lined up, we're going to make sure that the roll of film is inserted such that the paper will basically roll across this and not from this side and then across. It's got to come from the left side and then across the exposure shutter. So let's yank this guy off like so. Okay, so the seal's broken. We're able to pull this off and we're going to slide it through a little slit right here on the right hand spool. We're going to push that in as much as we can. Sorry, this is taking me a lot longer than usual. We want to make sure that it should be tight, and I'm not doing that right now for the purpose of demonstration, but okay, so now that that's in, we're going to take the lever here, and we're going to make sure that we have pressure on with our thumb with that little flap that's in the slit. And we're going to do 2 cocks, once and twice. And you'll notice that on the film for this Pentax 6.7 that the arrow here is pointing to these numbers that are close to 120 and 220. That's basically where we need to know that that's the starting marker for the film advance for 120 film. So we're going to close this, make sure everything's nice and sealed and closed and it doesn't come loose. And then we're going to go ahead and let's turn it on just for the sake of making sure that we have the right information. You're going to cock this a few times until you see the number 1. Okay, so that took me about, I think, 3 times or so, 3 or 4 times. So the number 1's ready to go, hand it back to me, it's ready to shoot. So that's pretty much how we load film with the Pentax 6.7.